I don't want to be like the traditional YouTuber where I'm going to like fill it up with a bunch of fat. I want to make it like condensed as possible. So it's like you get it straight to the point. You see exactly what you're going to get. There's no boring hook or no boring intro. It's like boom, 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 boom. One of the more funner experience is I recently became a Google ambassador. I think it's been about 10 months now. And I think 2 months down the line of becoming an ambassador, they invited me or flew me out and my partner all the time with creators asking me like, hey Seb, I saw you worked with X brand, how much did you charge? And I'm not going to gatekeep it. I'm going to be like, I charge this much. But then I'll also give them actual valuable information. I'll be like, you're at this following, you get these kind of views. This is what I think you should charge.
Hello and welcome to the Poly and Content Creator Spotlight. Today I'm talking with Sebastien Jefferies. I'm Dustin, PolyInnovator. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm super excited about this because even the more I looked into you too, and the more I've talked to you over the Opus Discord calls and whatnot, it's just one of those things where, I don't know, like the more I discovered, like just today, I saw that you use Video Bolt. And it's just one of those things where I was like, no one else knows about that tool for some reason. And it's such an amazing tool. You know what you're doing. You know a lot of the little secrets that a lot of people don't know. So I'm super excited to get nerdy with you today. What do you think is your favorite tool? Just going to start off right off the bat. Like, what do you think is your favorite tool?
My favorite tool? Well, I think to be honest, like you said, you mentioned Opus. I think Opus is definitely one of the most innovative tools out there at the moment, especially for YouTube creators. But anything, I think for me at the moment, if it's related to AI and it can help me produce videos quicker or do something out of the box, then that's definitely something that, grabs my attention. So Opus was one of those ones where it's like, okay, we can reformat long form videos into short form videos in literally like 2 minutes with captions. Now you can add B-roll and all of that. Yeah. So it's like, okay, damn, like, stuff's evolving. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't normally start off the show like that, but I felt really interested because I just love tools. I love finding these new websites and just kind of nerding out about them. And the more I scroll through a lot of your shorts too, one of those things where it's like, okay, he sees a lot. So if you think about one that you want to mention later on, let me know. The way I normally break the ice is to have you share something about yourself that no one knows about you.
All right, I guess I've just bought a house. No one really knows about that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How long did that take you to accomplish?
Well, we've been looking for over a year. Just in the UK, like prices are crazy, especially because I live in the southeast, which is like one of the most expensive places, right? It's right next to London. So yeah, houses are for what you get. Like you're in the States, right? For what you get for what I bought, like probably like a quarter of a house is what I get, and you would get, a mansion. But yeah, I mean, it's just where we live, so it's like, But I'm happy. Haven't moved in yet. We just got approved a few days ago, so we're going through all of that stuff.
That's awesome, though. Congratulations. I'm hoping that, are you going to set up like a new office in there too and whatnot?
Yeah, already figured it out. So we're viewing it again tomorrow, just to kind of map it out. But the plan is going to convert the garage into my studio. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than this room currently, but it's going to have like different sets and all of that. So very excited about that.
Yeah, please elaborate more, because that's one of those things where as a creator, your home studio is how you start out. What was your journey about building a home studio, and what are you looking forward to putting into this garage?
I mean, for me, I think right off the bat, I kind of realized that, when I first started doing TikTok, so that's my first platform that I started, I was like, okay, I need to find a way to stand out. And when I'm going through, I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later on in this video, but I kind of realized straight away, like my background needs to be unique, because then it kind of, I knew straight away I needed to stop the scroll. So if I could bring like RGBs into the background, fluorescent lights and all of that, that's going to be like, okay, wow, like instead of like the traditional person, like for you, for example, currently your background's very white, and then you take mine, it's like you got that light, you got that light, but if you have the whole setup, you'll see that there's a bunch of lights happening in the background. So that's one thing that I always kind of pay attention to.
Oh, you're completely right. And I've been working really hard at the angle for this camera. I can't do anything better than this right now, but I bought that shelf just so that corner wouldn't be as boring. I had the shelf of books here, and I had my sound dampening panel behind it. So at least when the camera was facing it, it actually had something in the background to make it look interesting. But you're totally right. RGB adds a whole another layer. Govee has a Black Friday deal going on right now. It's super exciting. I'm really curious.
One of my lights from Govee is actually broken, so I need to get it either replaced or get a new one while the discount's on. So.
Well, they have this like the HDMI sync box that has to be somewhat new because I only had the cameras for a while, and that way when you put it behind your TV, it syncs with the games you're
Yeah.
playing. And I just love that. I've been looking into stuff like that for so long and just playing with
Mm.
those new bits of tech.
Yeah, I saw that. But so I just bought a new monitor. It's
Mm,
actually got an RGB light behind it.
yeah.
So it displays the game colors as well and whatever
So
display I'm
cool.
on. So I think it's a bit of a gimmick, but it's still cool to see.
Yeah, and they do help. I've heard a lot of people say it helps with immersion a little bit just because it keeps that bleeding. Like you go from light to just stark darkness behind the monitor by having that light bleed around. It helps with just
Mm.
like the eye strain.
Yeah, for sure.
So starting out, and I kind of asked about this when we talked about this home studio, but what got you started as a creator? You mentioned that you started out with TikTok. What spurred all of that?
Yeah, I mean, so it was lockdown 2020. So the first lockdown in the UK, I don't know when it was in the
Yeah,
US.
same, basically.
But yeah, I downloaded TikTok because it was a trend. Like everyone was downloading it, everyone was bored, and then I was like, hang on a minute, like there's no like YouTubers like because I watched a lot of YouTube content about photography and videography, and I was like, there's no one doing this. Let me just give it a go. So I just started doing like Lightroom tips. So
Mm.
anyone who's not familiar, like Lightroom is like photo editing. I also doing like video editing tips for Premiere Pro. And I became like the CEO of Premiere Pro back in the day of TikTok, because I was doing literally just posting TikTok after TikTok about Premiere Pro tips, making them as short as possible. And I was like, I don't want to be like the traditional YouTuber where I'm gonna like fill it up with a bunch of fat. I want to make it like condensed as possible. So it's like you get it straight to the point. You see exactly what you're gonna get. There's no boring hook or no boring intro. It's like boom, 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 boom.
Mm.
And within like the first couple videos, I had like 300,000 views in one video, and I was like, okay, damn. And I just kept posting, and here we are today.
Well, I want to point out too that you had a really good intuition when it came to having colorful backgrounds and kind of skipping some of the fluff when it came to TikTok. Because I knew that from the beginning, but I never actually did it, and I didn't really realize how important it was until people like you have started saying it over and over again. Like, yeah, yes, you need a hook, but if you do that millennial pause, for example, people leave because by the time you get to the hook, for example, a lot of people knew that, but they didn't do that. They would also like, hey, my name is Dustin. No one cares. They want to know what you're talking about kind of from the beginning.
Hmm. I mean, like, I think it's just something you just kind of, I don't know, for me, it came natural because I'm like, I hate all these boring, like, TikTok was kind of, to me, it was like, you swipe up, you get a brand new video, and like, you get a bunch of content in a matter of seconds. I'm like, well, that's clearly like the angle here. Like, it's kind of short attention spans, and I'm kind of prone to that where I hate watching along. I will skip through a YouTube video if it doesn't get to the point. I don't care. Even if I like the creator, I want to see like, I want to see what the content's actually about. And I was like, well, I'm the same thing. One, it shortens my content creation process because, there's no fluff.
Hmm.
And two, it's just like, it's just so much more valuable. And I appreciate that if creators do that. So I want to be that kind of, I wanted to be known at the time to be like that guy who's straight to the point, gives you exactly what you need, and boom, you can swipe away with learning something new in a matter of seconds.
It is a really good point, and I definitely understand the whole skipping through YouTube videos. One of my favorite creators, ETA Prime, a tech creator on YouTube, he'll do like a 30-second intro, and then he'll spend the next 45 seconds doing the first ad roll of his like
Mm.
sponsored tool. And it's like before I even get to any meat of the content, at least give me a little bit first. Like tell me
Yeah.
give me an overview or something like that. But he does the overview after that, so it's in like 2 minutes into the video is when you actually first start talking about the actual product that he's talking reviewing.
Yeah, like that's the exact same. Like when I started doing my YouTube as well, I was like, I'm gonna keep the same sort of process where it's like straight to the point. Um, and my long form videos were only 3 minutes or 2 minutes, 4 minutes. Like they were so short, people wouldn't like expect you'd get so much value out of such a short video. But it just turns out like, people like Peter McKinnon, although he's a great content creator, sometimes fluffs on a bit, and that can be because he wants the extra ad revenue for like hitting the 8 minute or 10 minute mark at the time. Who knows? But like at the end of the day, I think the shorter the video is, the more views you're going to get anyway. So does it really matter?
Yeah. Yeah. In the long run, it's the quantity of views. And it's interesting too because, well, you started out with this educational content, and we were talking about gaming before the call, and I was wondering, like, have you ever really thought about doing gaming content as well? I really like this idea of having
Um,
that dual creatorship, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I did sort of like that's kind of how I guess started my content creation journey. Like as a kid, I'd post like, competitive because I used to do like competitive Call of Duty, and
Mm,
then when Fortnite came out, competitive Fortnite. So I did a bit of gaming. It was hard, like, especially if there's no TikTok. Like it would be easy
mm.
now to do it because it's TikTok. You can grow really quickly. At the
Yeah.
time, it was just YouTube. It was like it's a marathon, and I'm like, well, if you can't stand out, you got to be dedicated, post so much. And because I was so young at the time, I was like, oh, I can't be bothered. Um, but yeah, like now, I guess it's something I could do. It's, do I want to do it, or do I want to like spend my time when I'm gaming enjoying it rather than working? Um, that's another question.
Yeah. Well, my next question here, I don't know if you do much in the way of written posts or even podcasts in general, but I ask, out of the three pillar contents, video, audio, and written, what is your favorite to make? I guess video is probably the easy answer there, or am I
Yeah,
wrong?
I mean, I think I'd say video is the only kind of content I really make.
Mhm.
I do want to dabble into other markets a little bit, but every time I kind of push it back, I'm like, I'll do it when I'm a bit less busy, but then it gets more busy, and it's
Mhm.
like a nasty little flow. It's like it's never gonna not be busy. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You're only going to get more busy, I feel like, too, as you get more successful, too.
yeah. Well, I guess it's like what's the saying? It's like two sides to the stick or something. Like
Mhm.
technically, I'm not that busy because I now have people working for me, but I
Mm.
am still busy because everything still needs to get done. So I do less work, but so I guess I manage more now.
Mhm.
The only work I actually really have to do is script a video, then film it, and then the rest is kind of automated by everyone who works for me. But I still have to, make sure everything's getting done and
Mhm.
done well and all of that.
Well, and that's actually really interesting too. How did you start delegating content? Because editing is the hardest process for me. I'll do research. I love it. I do love these interviews. I just enjoy every aspect of it. Then it gets to the editing part, and I just can't be bothered half the time. And I do it because I have people like you who come on the show. You give me your time. You give me your value when you come on the show. You give the audience value. And so that's what keeps me accountable to finish the interview editing. But I can't wait till I can delegate that and focus more on just creating more and more. So how did you get
Hmm.
started on that?
Well, I've always been so my previous job before I was a full-time creator is, I was an editor. I was also a videographer, photographer. I did all that side of things, and yeah, so I kind of just started to find an editor, kind of nurtured them. The way to find a good editor is to teach them. Basically, you need
Mm,
to take them under your wing, because that's what I did at my old job. Before I quit, I had to mentor someone to kind of adapt to the style, so everything looks the same when I leave, and all of that. So I kind of took all those practices and just took it with my editor. At the time, I think my editor only started using Premiere Pro for like a month,
mm.
um, and his videos were good, but they weren't up to the standard, I think. But then he developed so much, one on his own, but also just through like all the comments I'd give him, and
Mhm.
now he's just like amazing. It's like he comes up with stuff that I wouldn't even come up with, and I'm like, bro, how did you do that?
That's awesome. It is interesting how deliberate practice can dramatically increase the speed of learning as well. And since you were helping him and teaching him in a way that helped him learn faster,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
her,
Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting too because I don't mind. Like I have the skills at editing. It's just part of the process that takes a lot of time. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I personally enjoy it. I kind of find it like relaxing.
Mm,
But it definitely, it's one of those bottleneck things where it just takes so much time.
yeah.
You can do it well or you can do it okay. And if you do it well, that really does convert in terms of like views and all of that because people can see that you're really putting in the time,
Mhm.
especially in like my niche where I'm kind of an expert in that field. So
Yeah.
if I produce rubbish quality videos, like, you're not going to believe me.
Yeah.
So,
It's a matter of just like showing what you know.
yeah.
So we talked about tools earlier, and I was looking through a lot of stuff you're talking about. Obviously, you use Premiere, you use Video Bolt, we use Opus. What other tools do you use for content creation and repurposing?
Well, I don't really do repurposing.
Hmm.
I kind of have this theory where it's like, repurposing is good to some extent, but it's sort of a lazy way to create content. If you actually want to
Interesting.
make an impact, you got to create original content. But then again, like tools like Opus is extremely valuable, especially if you are a podcaster or you do interviews and all of that, because it just saves you so much time and it is actually still organic or original content. I don't know. I feel for it to be valuable, it's a little bit more different to creating original content. But again, I guess it depends what kind of content you make.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think there's so many AI tools like Submagic is sort of a, similar grounds to Opus, but they just specialize in short form captions. Like if you were a TikToker or an Instagram creator and you wanted captions quickly, like you would use that because it would save you so much more time. But yeah, I guess it just depends what you need, really.
Well, and it depends on how you define repurposing too. If you're sitting there just copying your blog post and putting it to Medium, that's not repurposing. It's just,
Mm.
syndicating. But like you said, with Opus, the way that the clips are formed in Opus with the editing and the captions and all that jazz, it does make things unique. And so each clip is its own unique piece of content. And I think that's the ideal thing. You're actually taking efforts. And so even if you're doing it in Premiere, finding the clips, making them that way, why don't I just shorten it then? Like, what do you use for creation? You use Premiere, okay. What else do you use to create your content?
Well, Premiere Pro and After Effects really are the main
Okay.
two dogs. But then, yeah, if I want to do something quickly, like I've just done a quick story on Instagram, I'm like, well, I want to make it a bit higher quality, so I chuck it into Submagic, gives me dynamic captions, makes it look like I've spent time making the content, when in reality, it took me 20 seconds to film it, then uploaded it, got the
Mhm.
captions, and then posted it as a story. Work smarter, not harder.
Mhm.
Um, and like I've done that my whole life. Like it's like I don't know why people would like overcomplicate stuff. It's like you have everything. Most things have already been thought of. Most things there's already a way to do it quicker. You just
Mhm.
need to, be lazy and find a way to make it quicker, and then you save yourself time, and you just do more basically.
I think also the reason why I keep asking two in different ways is that the more, like I said, the more I scroll through your shorts, the more unique tools that I found that other creators just don't talk about enough. Like I said, Video Bolt earlier, but even Submagic and Opus. Like Opus is the fastest growing repurposing tool I've seen, and yet there's tons of people who still don't know about it. And so
Mm,
there's obviously going to be these other tools that maybe you know about. Like there's one I eclipse.gg where you could automatically find highlights and turn them
yeah.
into TikToks for video games. Like not everyone knows about that one yet. Or crossclip is more common, but still people don't know about it. I was just curious if something came to mind to you that you really like. Maybe not for repurposing, maybe not even creating, just like in general, something you found that's really cool.
For me, Runway ML is one of the
Oh.
coolest tools, just because of the versatility it offers. Like it's
Hmm.
kind of like the most emerging AI tool out there for video creators because there's just so many features that you can do, and they're dabbing a little bit into the photo space as well. Basically, anything you can think of, you can do in Runway. Again, it costs money to do, which is a bit annoying. It'd be nice to have like a free plan to try everything before you export or something. Because I think they would convert more people if they did that anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think Runway is just amazing. If you haven't checked it out, you can just do so much, and like you can now transform pictures into videos. And like if you have a static picture of like a view of the ocean with some clouds, you could highlight the clouds, and it will then animate that into like a
Yeah.
a visual video, which is crazy.
It's so insane. My uncle, who's a techie, he actually made like a cyberpunk short film using Kyber and Runway and
Mm.
these AI tools, and I think it's just fascinating what you can do with it. I also wondered how it would be like if you took some AI generated video like that, or even just a picture that you animated, and used it as B-roll, and just enhanced your videos using a tool like that, which I think is really cool.
Mm. Yeah, I think some people are already doing that with those
Yeah.
like faceless channels. They generate an image from AI and then they turn it into a video somehow. I'm like, okay, crazy.
Yeah. So my next question here is, can you share your favorite story that's happened to you as a creator?
I have a story,
Okay.
but can I remember it?
I could cut
Um,
out any pauses if you need a moment.
okay. I think there's two kind of favorite stories. One of which was I got invited to do a talk at a company, and at the time I was like, oh, I don't really know who these guys are, but they were, offering a decent amount. So I was like, okay. But yeah, come to the actual time of it, and I'm like, they invited me to their office to go through it. It was on the day. I was like, are you going to be talking to all the investors and all of that of the company? And it was Views, which is a kind of nicotine
Mm.
supplement. They do vapes and pouches and all of that. I was like, okay, I didn't know that anyway. It doesn't matter. But they basically just wanted me to break down like their YouTube channel and see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, kind of speak to the investors and be like,
Mm.
what is this company doing good for all their advertising? So that was kind of like a surreal moment. I felt very like imposter syndrome because I'm just
Mm.
a creator kind of talking to all these super rich investors. But
Yeah.
um, funny enough, like they had other people there as well doing similar stuff, but they all asked me all the questions. And I'm like, I'm the youngest guy here. Like I do social media, but you have other people here who are like other influencers and all that, but
Mhm.
yet you're asking me all these questions. I was like, oh damn, like, that's crazy. But then like one of the more funner experience is I recently became a Google ambassador. I think it's been about 10 months now, and I think 2 months down the line of becoming an ambassador, they invited me or flew me out and my partner to Barcelona to go to a music
Wow.
festival, and that was all expenses paid. Like they had like these really nice cars which would take you to and from the festival. They give us vouchers to buy drinks, food, literally all of that. We had the VIP passes, and I was like, that was crazy. Like,
That is awesome. Remind me to sign up for Google Ambassador.
yeah.
Shout out to the Google Pixel.
Shout out Google Pixel.
If you have an ambassador link, I'll put it down below for you as well. And
Yeah.
that's amazing. And hearing that success too, like you had that imposter syndrome, but I think that's very common when it comes to being a creator, just being an entrepreneur in general too. Because as a creator, we are these solopreneurs, and you get put in a space like that. It's more of a old timey traditional environment. It feels different, but they don't know as much as you do, and you were
Mm,
able to help them out a lot by teaching them what you know or seeing the faults and the cracks, if you will.
yeah, exactly. But I also think, yeah, it's like, you know, a lot of the people who are thinking like, can I be a creator or should I be a creator? Like, what can I teach you?
Mm,
What can I do to become a creator? One thing that some people don't really know is, and most creators will relate to this, is if you can teach something, you can become a creator. Like even
yeah,
if it's like on the most beginner level ever, you can still teach it. Like someone was saying, like if you're a guitar, you like you know how to play the guitar, but you're not very good, you can still teach someone who's never played before
yeah.
how to play the guitar. So it's kind of that same thing. Like if you can do something, you can teach it,
Mhm.
and then just keep going off of that. Really.
I have a small example of that. I have taught swimming for the past decade, but when I first started out, I was just a lifeguard. And I had taken a swimming for fitness class, but that's how I learned. I didn't learn until I was a teenager, despite the fact I loved being in the water, loved being in the pool. When I was a teenager, I learned to swim for fitness. Then I became a lifeguard, and when I first started teaching swim lessons, I wasn't any much more than a beginner per se. Like I wasn't doing
Mm,
competitive swimming, I wasn't doing anything super crazy, but I knew more than the kids I was teaching or the adults I was teaching, mainly kids at that time. And I was able to teach them. And if you take that same mindset and apply it to one of the skills that you have, like you said, guitar or swimming or maybe video games even, make a little mini course or do a little bit of coaching, like, hey, here's how you do this one trick, or something like that.
yeah, and it's so accessible nowadays
Yeah.
because we have the internet and TikTok. It's like, you don't really have anything stopping you. Your phone can record high quality videos, so
Yeah.
use that, and you can create whatever you want. Like you don't really have anything blocking you anymore.
Yes. And if you use a tool like Pensight, you can create like a course really quickly and easily as well and just have it as like your link tree. But
Yeah.
what does content creation mean to you? Like as a creator, I guess it's a big deal, but I'm just curious.
I mean, I just always wanted to kind of teach people from the very start how to create content because it's always
Mhm.
been something that I've been passionate about ever since I was a little kid. When the teachers would ask you, what do you want to do when you're older? And the traditional answer is like astronaut or firefighter and all that. And my answer was very, I guess, weird at the time because I was so young. It's like, I don't want to work an office job.
Mm.
And that was it. Like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I don't want to work an office job. And that kind of mentality stuck with me my whole life. It's like, I don't want to work an office job. And you could kind of argue that now I do work an office job because I'm always in my studio, but I work for myself. I don't have to work here. I choose to work here. I've made it my palace. I've
Mhm.
got all my RGB lights. I feel at home here. So it's like, yeah, I sit at a desk, but it's like I made it my desk. Like it doesn't have to be a desk.
You could always get a standing desk, and you're moving to a new place too, so you made your own palace even bigger.
Exactly, exactly.
What do you have coming down the line that you're looking forward to, besides the house, I guess?
I'm going to New York in a month.
You're
No,
going
actually, yeah, in
or
about a
moving?
month. No, just for holiday.
Oh,
So one thing I'm super excited. I've already been to New York, I think 3 times already, but I've never been on a helicopter going across, and I want to take my camera and take some banger photos. That's one thing I'm excited for. But content wise, I don't know. It's just it's a never-ending journey. I haven't really got anything planned. I keep saying I want to come back into YouTube, but it's like I don't know, like I'm doing well as it is now, but then there's so much in the lines, there's so much in development already. I have obviously the social media business, but then I have an editing agency business,
Mm.
and like we're developing that. We're going to create a course. Like there's so much being done already. Like there's not much for me to like look forward to, or not look forward to, but plan ahead of because everything's already been planned.
Mm.
But then again, that question is never a question I can answer anybody because everyone's like, "What's your 5-year plan or 1-year plan or 2-year plan?" I don't have that. Like I go with the flow. I'm not going to plan. Like I don't set myself goals. I just do what I want to do. I know what I want to do, so I just stick with it until I get bored or I want to move on to something else. So like, I don't want to set myself like a limit, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, because you seem like those stretch goals almost seem like a limitation to you. You have to follow them to heart if you set them. So by not
Mm.
setting them, you could have more freedom. And you were saying too, like you were wanting to maybe explore other areas, but you haven't gotten around to it. Would you want to like do like a Substack, start a podcast, or what were you thinking?
I think not necessarily start a podcast, but I think it would be nice to talk to more creators, go on more podcasts like as a person, maybe do some talks. That could be quite cool. Going to events,
Mhm.
like just kind of because content creation is a little bit of a lonely job.
Yeah.
Luckily, like my partner, she works from home, so I can still talk to her, but I probably bother her so much that she can't get her work done. Because I'm like, I keep coming in and out because I'm like, I'm bored, like,
Yeah.
and that's why, like, before we were on this call, like, I was playing Fortnite in the middle of the day, and it was like, what are you doing? And like, why are you not working? I'm like, well, I don't have to.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you can definitely call me if you ever need a chat or soundboard or something like that. I love talking
that's
about,
you.
yeah, I love talking about content. And it's just one of those things where starting to do these interviews has helped me with that loneliness, I feel like, because up until basically very recently, I had not been able to talk to very many creators. I went to a podcast conference right around the time I became an Opus brand partner, and I got to meet all these creators in person for the first time. And it was a very surreal feeling being around people who are also creators, because there's not many people in my city that are. And now
Yeah.
doing these interviews, I get to talk to people like you said, and it's just one of those things where I don't know, the feeling of just camaraderie is just it's unparalleled.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm a bit double-sided with that because sometimes like you'll go to an event, but then some people are like really, well, not awkward. Like I'm awkward myself, like in person. Like if it's a group of people, I'm pretty awkward. But like I hate all the small talk, like what did you do, blah 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 blah. But like I'm the kind of person who, in those kind of group situations, I'll just listen because to be honest, I don't really care. But like if you come to talk to me about like, hey Seb, how do you get brand deals, or hey Seb, how do you do this, how do you do that, or kind of asking me for an actual like question, not
Mhm.
something like a boring conversation. Like I will be so involved that I will talk all day long about it because it's something I'm passionate about. It's something that's actually valuable. But then it's like, what do you do for work? It's like,
I'm a
who
content creator.
cares?
Like, yeah. Well, you heard it
No,
here,
no,
folks. Ask him a
yeah,
question.
like I know that can sound kind of like rude or like you're not being interesting or like you're not communicating with people, but it's like I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to bore them, and I want to like bring value. And you know, time is money.
Yeah. Well, it's not about being rude. It's about you giving good advice. If someone is listening to this and they go to their first conference like I did, I think I did well enough to when it came to communicating with people and skipping some of the, formalities because you want to get to the meat of things. But obviously, I can still learn a lot, and I bet people listening in could definitely learn a lot. Get to the point or get to a question. If you see a creator you really like, get to the meat of things because that's not only going to be unique to them because not enough people in that conference is doing that are, stopping you and talking to you. But on top of that, too, you get your
Mm,
question answered and you get to let
yeah.
them, roll with their brain.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of my part as well, like for not being that interested. I think that's just like my brain's like whatever, man.
Yeah.
But like kind of an answer to any creator out here or emerging creator that wants to speak to your favorite creators, either if it's through like DMs or like you said in person, don't just message them hi and be like, "How are you?" Like I get so many of those message requests every single day. I do not answer them, but as soon as someone messages me, yeah, they can say hi, or sometimes they don't say hi, but they ask me a question immediately. I answer it straight away. Like even if you have 10 followers, I will answer your question because you're asking me something. Like it's not
Yeah.
just a hi, how are you? And then you ask a question. It's like just ask me the question, I'll answer it. Like I'm just so transparent in that way. Like, if you want something, bring it to the table, you know.
Yeah. Well, I got a question for you actually that came to mind. There's a lot of these new AI editing features, so like Podpage or I think is what it's called, for like Premiere, for example, where it just automatically does all the cuts, or even Gling that does the different cuts for you. What is your opinion on those, and what do you think they need to accomplish to really be good?
So it's kind of, I got two answers to this. First one is Premiere. Adobe is going to, make these tools obsolete, I think. They're already starting to do that with their new text to speech because now you can remove all the blanks. But I think it's so important that developers create these tools because then Adobe wouldn't make a change. So it's good that they've done these. So I've heard of Gleam. I haven't heard of the other one you spoke about, but there's also another one called Firecut, which is Ali Abdal made it, who is a YouTuber. And that's like absolutely amazing. I think the tools are really cool. They speed up so much time. I think they're more relevant to YouTube creators rather than short form creators, but I still use them on a day to day. Even though, like, it depends if I'm editing. Most of the time I'm not editing, but if I want to go through something quickly, just make sure that footage is good, pop it into Premiere Pro, press the button, cuts it all up, and then I've got a whole track which has just all been condensed. And I can quickly check it, and it's like saves so much time. So amazing.
Autopod is the one I was thinking of. I had not heard of
Autopod.
Firecut.
Oh, yeah,
Oh no,
I've heard
Firecut's
of
by
Autopod.
Adobe's. That's right.
Yeah.
Ironically, I actually interviewed Ali Abdal right before he hit his 1 million subscribers back in the day. That was really cool.
Oh damn, that's good. Yeah, I've met him because he's not a Google ambassador, but he gets invited to some of the events, and we saw, who was it? We saw, I think, Ed Sheeran together, and then we also saw someone else together. I can't remember.
These events are something else, man.
Yeah, like because they've got boxes that like, so they've just signed the England football team and Arsenal and Liverpool, so they've got a box at all those stadiums. They've got a box at the O2, which is like London's biggest concert stadium. So they got tickets to everything. So like they send you an email like every week or two. Hey, do you want to go to this? And I'm like, yeah.
Well, kind of wrapping up here, is there anything that you want to share with people that they might not know about you, for example, or maybe that you want to share that you're planning on doing? Like you said, you got your agencies. Is there something you're excited about that you want to share?
I just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Haven't got anything too interesting. Well, I guess in my eyes, maybe not that interesting. But I'm trying to revive my clothing line because that came out a few years ago, and it was one of those things that I really wanted to make it for myself, and I was like, I might as well give it to like sell it to people as well. And that did really great in sales, but then it's like I can't be bothered to market it, so I just let it die off. But now I'm interested in getting it back up. But yeah, thinking of coming out with a course or maybe like a digital asset to help creators kind of not get ripped off by the economy in that sense, where brands will try and take advantage of smaller creators. And I have numerous calls all the time with creators asking me like, hey Seb, I saw you worked with X brand, how much did you charge? And I'm not going to gatekeep it. I'm going to be like, I charge this much, but then I'll also give them actual valuable information. I'll be like, you're at this following, you get these kind of views, this is what I think you should charge. And I give them, they always follow up questions like, how should I do this and all of that? And like, if you're a creator and you don't know what to charge, or a brand approaches you, in most cases, if you're a smaller creator, it'll be on a gifted basis. If you want to turn that into a paid deal really quickly, you say, okay, sure, I can do this. What's your budget for this? And then that's, you leave it as simple as that. And then the brand will come back with a budget. So that's a quick tip if you want to get some gifted opportunities only. That's how you can easily like turn it into a paid one.
That's awesome. I'm approaching that point myself, I think, as a creator. So thank you for that advice. And that's exactly why I asked that question. Like it's a very broad, open-ended question, but the way you answered it made it completely worthwhile. So thank you.
No worries.
So where can people find you online?
You can find me at Sebastien Jefferies. On YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Instagram's my biggest platform. I kind of treat that as my baby. But I was originally a TikTok creator, but then Instagram kind of overlapped it. But yeah, again, if you've got any questions, send me a DM on Instagram and I will pretty much answer you most of the time. But again, don't just send me hi, because I won't reply to that.
Well, a little postscript question actually there. Well, quick, why is Instagram your baby? That's very curious to me.
I think because it's always been marked as the pretty sister or something. It's the most important social media platform in the sense of authority. If you've got a following on Instagram, doesn't matter if you've got a following on YouTube, but if you've converted that to Instagram, you have that authority. And I kind of did notice that brands originally all came through TikTok. But as soon as my Instagram started popping up, I just noticed that that kind of switched. And because I always ask brands, like, how did you find me? And they go Instagram. And I'm like, okay, interesting. And I just, you asked me one of these questions, like, what's one thing that you're most proud of? I guess I'm not proud, but I'm happy that I did it. Is that a company called Foot Locker, an agency approached us to work with them. So Foot Locker is like a shoe resale, I think a shoe reseller, or like they sell a bunch of shoes from different companies. And it was in collaboration with Foot Locker and Asics, which is a really big shoe brand. And like, we want you to direct some social media videos for us. And I was like, okay, damn, like this is like, but like, how is that relevant from like, how did you find me? It's like Instagram. But I'm like, my content's not really related to that, but still, but it's like, yeah, but you know how to do stuff. And I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, like I just feel like, go back to your question, people just kind of think of Instagram as like the most
Top.
popular platform
Yeah.
out there.
Thanks for answering that. That's super cool. Well, this is Sebastien Jefferies and Dustin Miller on the Poly and Content Creator Spotlight. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, man.